Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Building Bridges podcast. Me as your host, Meven Gubu. And today we are going to be having the second episode of the Understanding Type 1 Diabetes series. I'm excited. I hope you are all excited as well. Today's focus is going to be on early detection saves lives. Stay through till the end to understand the dynamics of why early detection is important. Today's guest, of course, is Miss Fomekong Sheila, who fortunately was with us for the very first episode and is still joining us for this second episode. Hi Sheila and welcome.
Hi Mev, hi to everyone.
How are you doing this morning?
I'm good, very good because of the podcast.
All right, I'm happy to hear that. Thank you for joining us again one more time for this amazing podcast series. We have been getting lots and lots of positive feedback. I think the audience is loving this. I hope you're loving it as much as we are loving this.
If I wasn't loving it, then I wouldn't have chosen to do it.
All right, Sheila, we are glad to have you here. And just a reminder for those who have not followed the last episode, the introductory episode, guys, you missed. When you're done listening to this one, kindly rush back to our SoundCloud handle, to our YouTube, and watch, listen, and learn the very first episode of our podcast, which was focused on the basics of type 1 diabetes or T1D. I was really excited when I got to know that the acronym of type 1 diabetes is T1D. And it's always amazing to have Sheila here, who is a warrior with this particular condition. And we are going to be talking about, as I had earlier mentioned, early detection saves lives. And so we are going to have a brief musical interlude. And then when we come back, we are going to dive right into our focus of the day.
Healthy food choices matter. Save the next generation. Regulate unhealthy foods now.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. You're listening to Building Bridges podcast. And we are currently running a series on understanding type 1 diabetes. And we are going to move to our very first question for our guest here, who is well experienced with type 1 diabetes as a whole and is also a warrior. I'm not going to say survivor today, I'm going to say warrior, because from last time we understood that it's a condition where you have to keep fighting and fighting and fighting. And so my very first question to you, Sheila, is what is diabetic ketoacidosis? My God, DKA, diabetic ketoacidosis.
The way you pronounce it, I can actually remember when we were having the diabetic training and we had to use the word. So they were like, please don't go and frighten people. Okay, what is diabetic ketoacidosis? Well, I would say diabetic ketoacidosis is a serious diabetic complication, type 1 diabetic complication, where the body does not have enough insulin. That is what diabetic ketoacidosis is. And why does it not have enough insulin, or why does it happen that way? The body starts breaking down fats for energy. So it happens like that, producing acid, which is called ketones. So now it's a condition where you have high sugar level because of lack of insulin. For those that are taking insulin, when you stop taking your insulin for a period of time, you can actually develop diabetic ketoacidosis because there is a concentration of sugar in the blood because of lack of insulin. There is no insulin to break down that sugar in the blood, the excess sugar in the blood, to send to either the muscles, the fatty tissues, or the liver. So it just stands there, and because of that, you can develop complications. So it's just a serious type 1 diabetic complication.
All right, so it's a serious type 1 diabetic complication. I know we have our focus for this series is on type 1 diabetes. Does it also happen to other types of diabetes, or is mainly just for type 1 diabetes?
Definitely it happens to other types of diabetes, if I can say so, because the treatment for diabetes varies just a little bit.
Okay.
For type 1 diabetics, you have to be on insulin. But for type 2 diabetes, you have medicines like metformin that you have to take, which still acts as
some sort of insulin.
Yes, some sort of insulin in the system. So if you are not taking either the insulin or the metformin that you're supposed to take, sugar keeps on piling in the blood, which can eventually cause diabetic ketoacidosis.
Ladies and gentlemen, this conversation is getting pretty serious. I feel like I'm having goosebumps on my body already. So from what you've explained about diabetic ketoacidosis, it shows that it's actually a medical emergency. Like, why is it considered a medical emergency? Because if the sugar keeps piling, don't tell me that people are going to, meet the creator or the bucket. So why is it considered a medical emergency? Because I understand that children or teenagers living with type 1 diabetes, at times they might get frustrated taking the insulin continuously. So they might just decide that, okay, I'm not going to take it, and then it becomes a medical emergency. So that's it. So why is DKA considered a medical emergency?
It is considered a medical emergency because it can lead to serious dehydration, breathing problems, unconsciousness, coma, or even death if not treated. Why do I say so? When your sugar levels are always high, there are complications, because we talk of diabetic complications. When your sugar is always high, there are some parts of your bodies that will tend to get damaged. We have the liver can get damaged, the kidney can get damaged, or even at that, it leads you to coma. So that is why diabetic ketoacidosis is very important, because of the high sugar level and the complications that it can cause in your system.
All right. So I think you made mention of some of the complications, the coma, the not breathing. Please reiterate it again so that persons or caregivers of children with type 1 diabetes are able to know that if the blood sugar gets high, if the children resist to take their insulin, then these are some of the things it can lead to. I think that you should reiterate that, like, let's be firm, so that when we start even noticing some of these symptoms or these medical emergencies as you're talking about, they can easily act upon. Like, if you notice that, okay, the child is not breathing well, there's severe dehydration, you can probably act fast, because there are several times that ignorance, there's a lot of ignorance. So please reiterate some of these symptoms. Yes, these
diabetic complications.
Yes.
Okay, some of the diabetic complications that we have blindness. And why do we have these diabetic complications? Because of high sugar levels. When your sugar level is constantly high, there are systems in your bodies that are being destroyed, because they will not be able, the workload that they have is too much for the system, is too much for that organ to handle. So you can easily have like blindness. Why will you have blindness? Because the excess sugar, actually, since our sugar circulates everywhere in our body, the excess sugar now goes and blocks the nerves. It actually goes and destroys the nerves that helps you to see. So we have blindness, we have kidney failure, we have liver failure, we have amputation. Why is amputation? What do I mean by amputation? Amputation here is when maybe you have a wound and that wound is not healing well. For us diabetics, since as our skin is very soft, we have high resistance to wound healing. That is for the normal people, those without diabetic. Let me say, if your wound takes 1 week to heal, ours might take about 2 weeks and a half to heal. That is because of the sugar that is in your system. If your sugar is high, and if that wound is not healing very well because of the high sugar in the system, they might be forced to cut that area of your body in order to save that leg, if I can put it that way. If it was your leg, you had a wound on your leg, they might be forced to cut as from the knee upward in order to save that leg. Then we have other complications. We have, even for men, we have impotency. If your blood sugar levels are always high, you can become impotent, and other many conditions that we have, complications that we have because of high sugar in diabetes.
I really feel that persons with type 1 diabetes and diabetic as a whole should be very careful with what they do, how they manage the particular condition, because it might get out of hand. And what happens generally to the body during DKA, during the diabetic ketoacidosis? What generally happens? I think during your explanation, you've probably touched a few of what truly happens, but if you had to break it down in a layman's terms, so probably a child with diabetes in primary school can understand that, okay, if I don't take this insulin, it's going to lead to this. There's going to be high blood sugar levels in my body. I'm going to experience this and this. So what truly happens during a DKA?
Okay, during a DKA, we have sugar cannot enter the cells for energy to be used because there is no enough insulin. So that is what generally happens. Sugar cannot enter the cells. Remember, I said we have three main areas that sugar has to enter in order for the body to function, where we have the fatty tissues, we have the muscles, and we have the liver. Since as there is no enough insulin, sugar just stands in the blood. It is not being used. It cannot be used because there is nothing that is going to be like a key that opens the cells of the other organs in the body for the insulin to enter into it. So it just stands there. So the body burns fat instead of producing ketones. These ketones now makes the blood acidic. It makes the blood acidic. That is why we will say that one of the signs of diabetic ketoacidosis is stomach ache. Somebody who is already nearing diabetic complications or diabetic coma, you will hear the person complaining probably about stomach ache. That is because of the too much ketones, the excess ketones or the acid that the person has in the stomach, which is burning the stomach walls.
Interesting. A lot happens in the body when you're not even aware. And I'm happy that we have this podcast series to educate the public on what truly happens in your body, particularly for persons with diabetes, particularly type 1 diabetes, children especially. This is a wake-up call for the caregivers to pay heed to the fact that if your child or the person you're taking care of who has type 1 diabetes is probably complaining of stomach ache, then it is a time for you to act and not just tell the child, go and drink water, go and lie down. And my mom used to say this, when your stomach is pain, she say, go and drink water, go and lie down.
Or they will tell you to go behind the house and harvest bitter leaf leaves.
Yeah. True. So this is a wake-up call to say, if you have a child living with type 1 diabetes and the child complains already of stomach ache, it's best you carry the child to the hospital. Don't self-medicate. Probably the person has missed out insulin and then probably inject them with insulin. I think it's going to rather make matters worse because, well, we know how these things go. And so, can this DKA occur in people who do not have diabetes? I'm just curious to know.
Yes, DKA can occur, can sometimes be the first sign of type 1 diabetes, especially in children and young people who have not yet been diagnosed.
All right. This is quite interesting. I think it is time for everyone to pay keen attention. Young people who have not been diagnosed, children, if you notice some of these symptoms. Sheila, I want us, although we treated this during the first episode, I want us to remind ourselves again of some of the early signs or symptoms of type 1 diabetes, because this also goes in hand with the DKA, because if there are high blood level of sugars in the system and no insulin, then it can lead to DKA. So let's refresh the memories of our audience on what are some of the signs or symptoms, since it shows that one of the early signs of type 1 diabetes is DKA. So let's refresh for those who did not listen to the last episode.
Okay, the signs and symptoms of type 1 diabetes, we have frequent urination, we have excessive thirst, we have excessive hunger, but you don't get fat. That means you eat a lot, but you don't get fat. Why? Because the sugar levels are always high.
We used to think that the Lord has done this for some people, that they don't go fat. This might be a sign you have type 1 diabetes.
That is why it's
Just kidding though.
Just kidding, yeah, but that is why it's encourageable that everybody knows their diabetic status. It's always good to check on yourself. So one is excessive hunger, you eat but you don't grow fat. That is because when the sugars are high, there is no enough insulin, the body tends to burn down the fats that you have. And also we have tiredness, we have you grow thinner. Yes, you grow thinner. That is because the fat in your body is being burned and stuff like that. So now, without these signs being identified early, it can now lead to diabetic ketoacidosis. So that is how we know that somebody is near death, and that is why children will be brought to the hospitals and in coma, they will not even know that, okay, this is what they are going through, this is what has been happening, because parents do not really have they don't really care to check. Let me put it that way. When your child starts drinking too much water, goes to the toilet frequently, you're like,
They play a lot.
they play a lot, so that is why. Or the child is always tired. It is because the child has been playing a lot
the whole day. Yeah.
This my child likes to drink a lot of water. It's showing that it is a good sign. Yes, it can be a good sign that the child is actually drinking a lot of water, which is healthy, but at the same time it can be a bad sign because the child might have developed diabetes, type 1 diabetes, without you knowing. So that is why it's good to go to the hospital.
Dear parents, caregivers, young people, I think Shella has said this. We need to know our diabetic status. Let's not wake up one day and start blaming village people. We are fond of that. Pay heed to some of the symptoms, the signs. We never know. It's not like you select somebody, it just happens. It's an autoimmune disease. It doesn't even warn you. The way it warns you are through the symptoms and the signs. So if you notice that your child goes to urinate frequently, drinks lots of water, is always tired, pay keen attention. And the child eats, like the child can eat even 10 times in a day, and you're not seeing the child putting on weight, it is time to take that child or that teenager to the hospital and get the child tested. And for us all, it's important for us to know our diabetes status.
Exactly.
All right. I think we're going to take the last question of the day. What's the difference between high blood sugar and DKA?
Okay, high blood sugar and DKA, they are very similar but have a little difference. High blood sugar mainly causes thirst, tiredness, frequent urination, but DKA is more than that. Severe and may also cause vomiting, stomach pain, fruity smelling breath, deep or fast breathing, and confusion. So DKA here now is just as a result of extremely high
sugar levels.
Like there are times you will check your blood sugar level for us who are diabetic and the machine is indicating HI. That is
Danger.
That is the machine cannot actually give you a range at that particular time to show that there is a lot of sugar in your blood and you have to do something about it. And if it persists for long, then it can become DKA.
All right, Sheila, thank you so much. Bonus question: should insulin be taken during DKA?
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, Sheila. I know you want to say something. Thank you so much, Sheila. We are almost at the end of our podcast. Just your take-home message before we round off this session.
Okay, my take-home message would be that let parents be very vigilant of their children. Don't ignore signs just because you don't want to take the child to the hospital because you're afraid of spending money. But you should be able to observe your children, watch over them, and see the little signs that makes your child different from the way your child is used to being. So please observe your children. Then if you find any wrong thing about your child, medically wrong thing about your child, please take that child to the hospital because you are saving that child's life by doing so.
Just as what Sheila said, early detection saves lives. Don't think about the expenditure for now. Think about how you're going to save that child, right? Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of episode 2 of our podcast, which was early detection saves lives. Stay tuned for episode 3. We are going to be releasing it in a couple of weeks. And just a tip of the iceberg is going to be on live after diagnosis. And thank you everyone for listening to our podcast today. We were powered by Radar Studios, and of course I was Mevengubu, joined by Fomekong Sheila. Do well to follow us on social media. On Facebook we are at Reconciliation and Development Association. On X we are at RegDev Cameroon. On LinkedIn we are Reconciliation and Development Association, and Early Detection Save Lives. Stay tuned and bye-bye.
Bye.